My next guest has been in show business since he was 18 months old. He has been successful as an actor, a writer, and also a director. He, in fact, has just completed the film Night Shift. Please welcome Ron Howard. Thank you very much for being here. It's a pleasure to meet you. Now, is this it? We know it's possible. 18 months?
Hard to believe.
Hard to believe. Yes, it is hard to believe. What was the role that you brought to life when you were 18 months old?
Crying brat, little kid crying.
Yeah.
My dad was directing a summer stock play in Atlantic City, and they needed a crying brat. And so I would come on and cry. Had this little doll, and then right before I'd go on, I guess they'd take the little doll away from me and kind of shove me out there, and then I'd cry, and then they'd pull me off. Got a good review, though.
Well, that's good. You, you also got a kind of a help in your career from Mr. Reagan.
Yes, I did. There was an old show called General Electric Theater, and Ronald Reagan was the host. And when I did the program called Barnaby and Mr. O'Malley, which is from a cartoon strip, and Bert Lahr was Mr. O'Malley, and I was this little kid. It was also a pilot for a TV series at the time. Only it was my first real big part. I was 4 years old and got no billing, had no billing whatsoever. And at the end of the show, Ronald Reagan came on and said, and by the way, our very special thanks on this Christmas program to little Ronnie Howard, who was wonderful as Barnaby. And that show didn't sell, but the next day I got offered 3 different shows, and one of them was the Andy Griffith Show. So my mom will vote for Ronald Reagan anytime, anywhere.
Now this is interesting because there have been a lot of guys, men and women, who started out and had a part here and a part there, and then stopped being in show business. They got to be 10 or 11 or whatever and stopped.
Right.
Did you ever lose interest, or were the folks always saying, come on, Ron, do another one?
Well, they weren't doing that. They were probably going the other way, encouraging me to try to find other interests. I mean, I think they were always very concerned about that. But I loved it. You know, I mean, people would ask me what I wanted to do, and I would always say I wanted to be an actor, writer, producer, director, cameraman, baseball player. And I had it all planned out. I really expected to stay in the business my whole life. Yeah. And when I blew my shoulder out, I really knew I had no other alternative.
Let me ask you about the schooling that you received. Are you, you didn't go to normal high schools? They always said they had the tutors come on and said, but does that work really?
Well, I did both.
Yeah.
I got to do both. I had good old Mrs. Barton on the Andy Griffith Show from the 1st grade through the 8th grade. And
she's here on this show, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
Mrs. Barton! But I would then go back to public school, something that I would really look forward to, although I'd tend to be kind of a novelty for a while.
Sure.
I remember when I first went to junior high, it was real difficult as a 7th grader. A 9th grade girl, however, came up and asked me to autograph her thigh. But it sounds kind of titillating now, but it scared the daylights out of me at the time. But after a couple of weeks, things would kind of calm down a little bit, and I could assimilate myself and have a real good time. I always look forward to doing that.
Now, you were in town, I can remember a couple of months ago, you were finishing the film that's...
We were doing Night Shift.
Yeah,
right.
Night Shift, and this, by the way, has nothing to do with the Stephen King novel, is that correct?
Right, and we had to get the rights, I guess, to the title from the book, but this is a comedy.
You worked with Mr. Winkler for how many years on
Happy Days?
Happy Days?
I was on Happy Days for 7 years.
Yeah. Now, in addition to it may have causing a problem to direct this man you now used to co-star with on the TV show, was it a problem?
Well, it turned out not to be. I mean, it was something that I did give some thought to. Obviously, I didn't think it was a big problem. I cast him. But we had this great friendship, and what happens if we don't get along suddenly in the pressure cooker? Sometimes making a movie can be kind of nerve-wracking, but we didn't. We got along great.
When I was living in Los Angeles, there was always rumors flying around that ABC and Paramount and other powerful show business entities were planning Happy Days 2000. They wanted that sucker just to go and go and go.
I think they did and still do.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think that they do. And I mean, I think in some ways that the Joni Loves Chachi show is an indication of that. I mean, should Happy Days start to tail off, I think they feel that Joni Loves Chachi could be basically Happy Days on for another 10 years.
Yeah. So was it tough for you to get out at that point? I mean, it looked like it could have been a pretty good paycheck for a while.
It was a great paycheck.
Yeah.
It was a really spectacular paycheck. my contract was up, and I have wanted to direct all my
Yeah.
life. And so if I was going to stay with the show, my goal was to be assured that I was going to be able to direct, which is pretty unreasonable demand. And I knew that. I felt that they might very well let me go. They weren't going to give me that, and so I wound up making a similar deal with NBC. And for the first time in my life, really, I had some career flexibility.
Yeah.
It was great.
Tough thing to do, though, I'm guessing, at the time.
It was very painful, a real difficulty.
The first film you directed was for Roger Corman, who
Yeah.
does really inexpensive motion pictures. What was the one you did for him?
Mine was a car crash movie called Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, and it cost about what to put together?
$602,000.
Which is dirt cheap by comparison.
Yeah, Night Shift was 10 times the
Yeah.
budget.
What kind of a profit did the Roger Corman film make?
Well, let's see. It made about $6 million in rentals and another $1 million or so in television, and so Roger probably made about $5 or $6 million out of that.
I was reading where you, as the director, were able to do 91 different scene setups in one day.
Well, myself and my second unit director, a guy named Alan Arkish, and we were both working in a demolition derby, which was the big scene, the big finale. And he was shooting car crashes, and I was shooting dialogue scenes over here, and every once in a while somebody'd almost get hit by a car, but between us we did 91 setups in one day, which is about 75 more than you ought to do.
When you were with, when you were Opie, I mean, you're not, of course, it's hard to talk about that, but there were some great character actors on that program, weren't there?
Oh, Howard Morris and Buddy Ebsen came on. Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson?
He was a young character actor then.
Yeah. And the Floyd the Barber, who...
Howard McNear.
Howard's
He passed
gone.
away,
Yeah.
right.
Was anything ever peculiar happen that maybe a young fellow like yourself shouldn't be participating in or witnessing, or...
Nothing really that peculiar. Although the makeup man used to nail Andy Griffith's shoes to the floor every once in a while. Something you shouldn't do to your
No.
sixth grade teacher,
Yeah.
but nothing really terrible.
Nailed them to the floor.
Yeah, only if Andy bought a new pair.
Yeah. Andy didn't mind this?
He'd chase him around and throw the shoes at Lee, and then they'd play the banjo and guitar, and everything would be okay.